Welcome to the Forge, my wanton wildlings. I'm your creepsmith, and I hope you like my work.
When unexpected, unnatural things come into our lives, why is it that they scare us? Is it just that they jar or challenge our view of the world? Or is it deeper? Do we possess some sense of the archetypical states of our world? Can we recognize how things should be on an instinctual level? Either way, or whatever the truth may be, people can tell when something should not be. Like in tonight's tale, The Fuik Incident, by an anonymous author. I'm just an average forum board user, but not until 11 years ago, when the site became part of a large group investigating what I should call a strange incident that happened in Russia. Here's my story of what I gathered about the incident. On October 17, 1997, 6 teenagers were arrested for driving erratically near a school district in a carpool. They were reported to be in pain, most of them complaining about hallucinations and headaches. Police suspected them of taking drugs, but upon further investigation of a drug tester, the report concluded that this was not the case. The 6 teenagers were sent to a local hospital for evaluation of their diseases. All 6 patients refused to give their names, and so were given numbers instead. 1 in 4 were females, the other were male patients. After a hospital stay of 10 days, the doctors were puzzled at what the patients were suffering from. They reported incoherent talking, screaming, and a strange rash on their chests. A short background investigation followed, and the only unusual thing it reported was that 2 months ago the group of 6 were friends who took a hike in the mountainous wilderness. They had then caught some kind of spore during their trip and suffered anthrax-like symptoms once they returned. Fortunately, after treatment, these symptoms disappeared. It was decided to send the patients to the Fuik Research and Hospital Center located just a few miles from the hospital, as many doctors suspected this might be a new disease. Afterwards, what happened was apparently classified by the government and cast by which many claim was a cover story. What the government claimed was that over a period of 2 weeks of testing, all the patients were declared to have a pneumonia-like disease, likely caused by secondary infections from the spores that they had picked up in their previous mountain hike. But it was too late for treatment, and so all 6 patients died. Their bodies were cremated and sent to family members in urns. But there were a few suspicious inconsistencies in the story that led many to believe that the government was trying to hide something from the public. First off, many of the teenagers' families had been issued a statement wishing for the teenagers' bodies to be delivered to them for formal burial. None of the families requested the bodies to be cremated. And even more strange was that the research laboratory where the patients resided abruptly closed down, according to rumors, at just about the exact time that the teenage patients were declared dead. Armed guards stood outside the building wearing SWAT-style body armor and holding assault rifles. A few wanderers reported that the doors of the building were bolted shut completely and all windows of the building were covered with black material, like curtains. All of these facts eventually led to a general group on the internet forum that I was in to start an investigation on if there was a secret side to the story. I was curious about everything and I joined. I became one of the biggest informers on the group. Many anonymous users have sent me detailed logs, information, and reports that they claim to have recovered about the Fuik patients, but none of them really pointed to any real or new information. Years passed. The forum eventually started to lose its popularity, and the group shrank. I myself was thinking of resigning from the site when one user, under the name of MacLeod113, sent me a private message. He claimed that he was trying to retrieve the video memory of the security cameras at Fuik, which had backup videos stored online at the research center's site. I kept in touch via PMs with this guy. Eventually, I gave him my email, and every day he began to email me with what he'd gotten on the site. For the first few weeks, he got nothing out of the hacking. Then, almost a month later, he sent me a large bite video on an online private video host and told me to try to skim through it. I opened up my video editing software and took a look at the video. It was kind of boring, to be honest, and it didn't have what I was expecting to see. The room shown was completely white and had an eerily sterile feeling to it. The patients were all lying on square white beds with white bed sheets. I put the video on super sped up. Nothing really interesting appeared to be happening. The patients would once in a while turn around in bed, cough, maybe sit up. Doctors and nurses would come in once in a while to check up on them and provide food and drink and attention. Overall, the video didn't seem to be too strange or any different. On the second day, the videos were the same. And the third, the fourth, fifth, and sixth. Soon my friend didn't even bother making a description anymore. It was just a no-subject title. However, one Friday night, I noticed something strange about the patients in the seventh day of the tape. I played the video, super sped up as always. The patients seemed to be in the same condition they'd been for a week, but there was something different this time when the timestamp of the video read about 10 o'clock in the morning. I don't know how to accurately describe this, but the patients' bodies were slowly, very slowly, but noticeably starting to swell, mostly in the stomach and chest areas. It was late at night. I didn't dare watch the rest of the video, but it's really creeping me out, and I'm not a fan of nightmares. But from this point, I was very curious to know the rest of the story of this mystery. The next day, my friend's email arrived around 7 o'clock in the morning. This time, he included a voice message with it. Apparently, he watched the video as well. His voice was very shaky, and I could just read the fear in his voice as he spoke. Did you notice something about those Fuik patients in that last video I sent you? I just happened to watch it, and what I saw, the patients were just like literally bloating up, and the way they moaned, it was just, it's freaking me out so badly. Now we know we're looking at a mystery, and the way I see it, a really disturbing one too. I don't dare look at this one. Please, if you can watch it, just tell me what you see. My hands were shaking as I clicked the host link and the new tab opened up. You know that cold, clammy feeling where the back of your neck is all prickly, like when you're waiting for the picture of a gruesome murder scene to load? I was having exactly that sort of feeling right then. The circling buffering button seemed to take forever to load. Finally, the triangle play button appeared, and holding my breath, I loaded it into my editor and played it. Things didn't seem to get any better for the patients. Their skins were a sickening reddish color today, as if they'd been in a tanning bed for 6 hours straight. The bloating also didn't seem to quell. Over the next 5-hour period, sped up into 5 minutes, I watched in disbelief as the patients' chests started to rise. They were soon so puffed up, a bit of their stomach showed through the top of their shirts. It was clearly visible even in an overhead view. I didn't want to see any more of this video. I just didn't. I clicked out of the host site and hammered out a quick reply to my friend, claiming that I didn't notice any swelling and that he probably just saw it wrong. I didn't like to lie like that, but at the same time, didn't want to freak him out with how the patients looked. The next morning seemed to take forever to arrive, partly because I was hunched over my laptop starting from 5 in the morning, running the facts of what I saw in the videos to the forum board group. Many people didn't believe me. I can't say as I blame them. Then at 11:30 straight, a beep sounded on my email alert, and a new message pop-up appeared. From Maliak 113, no subject. He didn't include a message this time, probably because he was just too scared to view the video and pre-inform me of anything. I dragged the video onto my editor as usual. After it loaded and buffered, I hit the play button, forgetting to speed it up. The timestamp of the video read 6:21 a.m. The screen was pitch black for a couple of seconds, then there was a white flash, and the video slowly faded in. What I saw made me scream and scream and scream again. Every one of the patients, every single one of them was lying in a pool of blood. Dead. These patients were dead. That was the first thing that came to my mind. But then a sudden movement at the bottom of the screen caught my eye. It was one of the patients. He or she, I couldn't tell, was still alive. I'm not sure of the gender. It was too disfigured by the bloating and the dark from the early morning to be made out. I dragged the video flipper forward about 5 hours to around noon on the timestamp. The scene was too gruesome to describe. The white sheets of the patients' beds were all stained with blood and a strange brownish red fluid. And judging from the scrunched up faces of the few doctors and nurses that entered the room throughout the day, they must have smelled awful too. I'm sorry about this, guys, but all of this footage was too disturbing for me to bear. I skipped 4 days of the video, only reviewing the last one at the end of the 2-week period of the patient's stay. What I saw on the final day of that security camera footage will haunt me for the rest of my life. The tape started up about 1 in the afternoon. The patients were now horribly bloated, deformed, with yellowish fluids seeping from gaping open sores in every visible part of their skins. But it wasn't just the patients. Around 3 in the afternoon, a figure walked into the room wearing a starched white coat. It took me a while to register that the man had to be a doctor or a scientist. It took me even longer to recognize the long black object he was holding in his hands. It was an assault rifle. The guy pulls back some sort of mechanism on the gun. Then in a split second, he had the gun raised and aimed. 30 bullets flew through the air in less than 4 seconds. Full auto. I've never heard a gun sound so loud. Movies had exaggerated it way too much. The patients didn't cry out or even react at all to the bullets. They just suddenly shuddered as the bullets slammed into them, driving them backwards. Then they lay still. 2 days later, I finally realized what was wrong, why the teenagers were cremated, why they were so horribly deformed in the videos, and why that doctor stormed into the room with a gun and shot all the patients. 2 days of research have finally brought up the disturbing answer. The patients had already been dead when they arrived at Fuik. They were dead for the whole 2-week period, possibly even at the hospital beforehand. Yet they were still moving and talking. And the most disturbing part of all, their bloating was from the first stages of decomposition. It was a 2-week footage of watching 6 rotting corpses. Well, I suppose that's one way to donate your body to science. Not how I'd choose to go about it, though. Stay scary, my wildlings. Be careful if you go hiking, and make the most of your nights.